Well, hello and welcome to episode 592 of the Plain Talking UK podcast. I'm Carlos, and in this episode of the show, we have BBL, Big Blue Lufthansa. Qantas are flying non-stop to Vegas, UK. Aviation is setting new records, and we have an update on how the Middle East conflict is affecting flying. We'll have some more updates regarding our forthcoming 600th show, which is creeping ever closer. But before all that, I'm very pleased to be joined by the ever-smiling Neville.
With the events team up there, which was nice, and also with the restaurant team at the Red Lion. So you lot are in for a big treat, all coming. It's all going to be nice and fantastic. So I'll have some more details about that a bit later on. But no, I've had some very good news today about who's going to be presenting for us as well. So yeah, looking forward to telling you about that later on.
Oh, we had some action here today, Nev, in the east of Anglia, because we had a air display of BA Embraer E190s flying over.
Funny enough, Russell, who is the chap I was speaking to, he's from Norwich. And he was saying it was very foggy in Norwich today, and he was surprised that anything could get into Norwich. But obviously, they made it in. Well, obviously, they couldn't get into London City, which is why they came up the A12. Yes.
Yeah, right. It made an interesting sight above the skies of Wyndham this afternoon to see three Embraers coming over, and you could see the blue underbelly as well now. So I knew that they were BA ones.
Mm.
Yeah. Very nice.
There's something wrong with my audio, apparently. So I don't know whether that is me or you. I think that must be you, Carlos. So,
no, I think your audio should be fine.
The chat room was saying the audio is very quiet coming from me.
Oh.
And it sounds that it's on the wrong mic as well, which is odd because it isn't. It is on the correct mic.
Oh, that's strange.
We've got weirdness going on here. Audio. Let's just. In that case, it is me. Right. I don't know if that's any better, folks.
Try that, Nev. That should be better.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
How's that, chat room? Is that better? John Jester's in the chat room, so he'll be able to tell us whether that's better or not. Oh, that's better. Excellent. There we go.
Good.
Anyway, this is going to be one of those shows tonight. Also joining us across the glens and the fields of the UK, down in the south, in the glorious part of the country in Devon, is, of course, Nick Codling. Hello, Nick.
Hi, Carlos. Now, rumour has it that because Matt's not here this week, we've got some technical issues, and he's been pushing for a pay rise. Is that right?
Yeah, I think we need something. I think new tech, I think, or another program other than vMix. I think we'll try sampling something like that. But how are you, Nick? You good?
Yeah, I'm great. Yeah, good to be back, and nice to see everybody. And yes, it's been a fun couple of days. I was spending an enjoyable couple of hours in a flight simulator on Sunday, so I'll talk a bit more about that a bit later.
I saw that. Looks very, very good indeed. We saw the pictures you sent us in the group chat, and that you took your son there, didn't you?
Yes, that's right. Yep, we had 3 hours in an A320 Neo, which was very enjoyable indeed, I have to say. And yes, now I want to get my own flight sim.
Oh, awesome. I want to go in a sim again. I haven't been in one for ages. Right, and Andy's missing this week. I think Andy is flying. I think he's flying this week, or is he on holiday, Nev? I can't remember. I can never keep up with Andy.
He's flying this week.
That'd be why then. That'd be why.
Yep.
So Andy's not with us this week. And also joining us this week as a guest, it gives a great pleasure to welcome on to the show travel expert, consultant and content creator. And it gives me a pleasure to welcome onto the show his first appearance on here, James Warren Oliver. Hello, James.
How are we doing? I didn't realise my title was so long. Thank you very much. Nice to be here.
Yeah, like I said before, it's not normally this tech involved.
Don't worry, I jinxed you. Before I joined, I said normally it's me with the technical issue, and I seem to be okay at the moment, touch wood. So I think I've jinxed everybody else this evening, so apologies in advance.
Yeah. Oh, you're okay. You're okay. But James, how are things with you in the world of travel? I know you've been traveling quite a bit over the last few weeks. I've been catching up on your weekly episodes on a Monday.
Yeah, so things have been good. I was just saying to Nev before we went live, I'm just getting over a chest infection. I took a ridiculous amount of flights in about 4 days. Just got out of the Middle East before it all kind of kicked off over there. So I was there 10 days ago in Qatar and Oman. And yeah, just got out before it was about 3 or 4 days before it all went Pete tongs. So yeah, been flying around far too much, and the consequence of that is 5 days worth of antibiotics. So
oh, is that because you've been sat in an aircraft for so long? Is that caught every
Absolutely.
cold imaginable?
Yeah, they was going to get me on one flight, so the odds weren't good from the start, and something got me. So.
Well, James, we're going to have a chat with you later on in the show. Nev's happy because our chat with you means that we don't do any military news this week. So you've made Nev's day.
I aim to please.
Right, Nev, I'll hand things over to you to introduce the first part of the show.
Yes, well, now finally we've got things underway. It's time for the commercial segment.
So the first story this week comes to us from... where does it come to us from? It comes to us from... Aerotime.aero. Lufthansa's A380 joins Team XXL Crane with new centenary design. An Airbus A380 has become the fourth Lufthansa aircraft to feature the XXL Crane livery as part of the airline's 100 years anniversary celebrations. On February the 25th, Lufthansa A380 registered Delta Alpha India Mike Hotel landed at Munich Airport after departing from Shannon Island, where 35 staff members worked on the design update for 34 days. Lufthansa said colleagues brought the 47-metre-long stylised crane onto the aircraft to life and painted a total area of 4,000 square metres, equivalent to 16 tennis courts. Blimey, that's incredible. Let's put the picture on there for those of you watching in the world of YouTube. Included in the special celebratory livery is the XXL crane and the lettering 1926 and 2026 and 100. The A380 joins Lufthansa's A350-900 and A320neo and a Boeing 787-9 that already feature the XXL crane livery. In total, 7 aircraft with the special liveries will be painted to mark the 100th anniversary. On February the 27th, a second Airbus A320neo with an XXL crane is expected in Munich, and Lufthansa announced in November last year that 6 aircraft will be painted in the crane commemorative livery to mark the airline's 100th anniversary. The German flag carrier also unveiled an Airbus A321-200 adorned in a legacy parable livery based on Lufthansa's classic Lockheed Superstar. And the A380 will start regular service in March this year, as in this month. So, yeah. Did you see this one, Nick, when you were visiting at the airport the other day?
No, so I was up at Heathrow on Saturday. I think in the story it says that there's also an A320 in the same colours, which we actually, funnily enough, we managed to see that twice over the course of the weekend up at Heathrow. So, and I have to say, it's a really eye-catching design. It looks really good. So, yeah, unfortunately didn't get to see the 380, but I would love to see it because I think it looks absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it does look nice. What do you think of the retro or the livery, Nev?
Yeah, it looks great. And our good friend Alan White took some pictures of it as well as it left the paint shop, taxiing out towards Shannon's runway. And look very, very nice indeed. They've done a good job of that, I must say.
It does look good. James, are you a big fan of airline liveries? Because there are some dull ones out there.
There's some rubbish ones, isn't there? But I saw the Superstar. Sorry, I'm just going to give it you as it is. I saw the Superstar one at Frankfurt, which is really cool. I filmed that, so that's going to be in a future video, and it's that's really, really nice. I said to one of my friends as well, it'd be epic if we could kind of mirror, old liveries with like old cabin crew uniforms and service, and take people really back to how it used to be, like the golden age of flying. That'd be pretty funky.
Yeah, can you imagine if we could have the Landor livery back, Nev, with BA?
I think that ship has sailed, sadly.
Yeah.
But yes, anything Landor would get my vote. As long as it was a 757. But we don't have that now either.
Yes. Yeah. Right, Nev, you've got news on a non-stop flight.
Yes, we know how ambitious Qantas are with their very long-haul sectors. This is on paddleyourown.canoe.com, and it says that Australian flag carrier Qantas is set to make aviation history, not aviation history later this year, with the world's first ever non-stop scheduled flights between Sydney and Las Vegas, which are scheduled for takeoff from December. Tapping into the insatiable local demand for international travel has driven Qantas to experiment with destinations that were never previously on its radar. And Sin City has one in the airline's latest international expansion. Not that Qantas is a complete stranger to Las Vegas. The airline had been operating a limited number of charter flights to the gambling capital for the last couple of years in partnership with Australia's National Rugby League. The latest charter flights took off from the Gold Coast to Las Vegas, marking the third straight year in a row that Qantas has flown Aussie rugby fans to the city for the annual season kickoff Las Vegas Festival. Regularly scheduled passenger flights, however, will begin a seasonal service running from the 29th of December this year to 12th of March next year, covering key dates in the Las Vegas calendar, including the annual Consumer Electronics Show. That's massive, that show, by the way. Australians' appetite for international travel continues to be incredibly strong, explains Qantas's International Chief Executive Cam Wallace. Rome and Sapporo have shown us that there's real demand for seasonal services to destinations people want to visit at certain times of the year. And we're continuing to expand those direct connections around the world, he added. Las Vegas will become the airline's 101st destination, and Wallace says that this is being made possible by the use of historic fleet renewal, which includes the delivery of a new long-range Airbus A321 XLR, which takes pressure off the wide-body aircraft fleet like the 787-9 that will be used for Sydney to Las Vegas. Steve Hill from the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority explained that despite the lack of non-stop flights between Australia and Las Vegas, the city has remained a firm favourite amongst Aussie travellers. Australia has consistently ranked as our second largest overseas market and our top international market without a non-stop flight, he commented. In fact, last year, 250,000 Australians visited Las Vegas, and the new 3 times weekly non-stop service will cut up to 5 hours in travelling times compared to connecting itineraries. And any time saving will be welcome, of course. Even the non-stop service will clock in at nearly 14 hours, departing Sydney at 9 p.m. and arriving in Las Vegas at 5 to 4 in the afternoon. Well, that's good, isn't it? Always a very popular destination.
Yeah, not done Australia not been to Australia, not done a long haul flight that long, 14 hours is the longest flight that I've done to the Maldives. But
all the trade shows I've ever done in Las Vegas, which is once every other year, been an awful lot from Asia Pacific generally and Australasia as well. So if there's direct connections, so much the better.
Yeah, and Vegas is a nice place to go. Love Vegas. I want to go back there again. Are you a big fan of these long-haul flights, James? Obviously, the ones that go beyond the kind of 17-hour kind of area.
Yeah, I've precariously booked myself onto the QF flight from Perth back to Heathrow later this year, direct. So, you'll have to check in with me after I've done that to see if I'm in the land of the living. But I don't mind a long flight. I did the Seoul diverted flight with Finnair back to Helsinki last year, and that was long enough. I think that tipped 14, 15, nearly 15 hours. But yeah, I don't mind a long flight. I think if you're in business class as well and you can snag a little upgrade, it's so much easier. But if you're down the back in economy, it's much more of a consideration for sure.
Yeah, Nev will be in seat 1A, so he'd be absolutely fine, wouldn't you, Nev? Yeah, 100%. No, I agree with when these flights, with these kind of long haul flights like this. If you're sitting in a nice seat, at least premium economy, it's not too bad. But yeah,
it's all about the snacks. You've got to break the journey up with lots of snacks.
I agree with Nick. Yeah, it's all about the snacks.
That's the way to do it.
Right, James, if you'd like to take the next story on the list, we are moving closer to home and somewhere where they had a slight issue with some fog today.
Yeah, this one's an exciting one. This is from Aerospace Global News, and it's London City Airport seeks CAA approval for Airbus A320neo flights. So London City has officially launched a consultation process which could see the A320neo being added to the list of aircraft certified to use the facility. The process seeks approval from the UK's CAA, Civil Aviation Authority, for changes by January 2027, which would allow longer routes with larger passenger loads to be operated from the airport. This is a pretty cool story, to be fair. In the consultation process that London City Airport launched on the 2nd of March, the airport outlined its aim to achieve approval for a shallower descent profile on both runways, which could permit the commencement of A320neo operations at the airport. Now, according to the airport, the current airspace design surrounding London City is characterised by steep instrument landing system approach and departure procedures due to its built-up urban location and its proximity to restricted airspace and, of course, the London Heathrow Airport. Because of this steeper than normal approach profile set at a 5.5-degree angle, any aircraft operating at the airport has to be specially certified as being permitted to operate safely using such angles. This 5.5-degree angle is significantly steeper than the standard 3-degree approaches at most airports due to the obstacle-rich environment and tall buildings, particularly to the west of the airport. As the certification process to permit a 5.5-degree approach angle is stringent, many modern aircraft types, including the A320neo, are currently prohibited from operating to and from the airfield. While the smaller A318 has operated into London City previously by BA, I do miss that A318, its larger stablemate does not currently meet the certification requirements due to its inability to operate using the 5.5-degree approach angle. Now, as per a statement issued by London City Airport on the 2nd of March, the objective of the consultation is to introduce required navigation performance authorization, try saying that when you've had a few drinks, RNPAR, approach procedures. These involve a high-precision GPS-based instrument approach procedure which allow aircraft to fly complex curved paths into challenging airports such as London City or those in mountainous regions. It requires both the specialised training of air crews and stringent operational authorisation due to tighter accuracy standards, 0.3 nautical mile to 0.1 nautical mile, compared to standard RMP procedures. I feel like I'm back as a member of cabin crew doing my annual recurrent training with all these acronyms. I love it. The use of an even higher standard of satellite-based navigational accuracy than the current procedures means that less stringent obstacle clearance requirements prevail. This allows for shallower approaches, such as a 3-degree approach, to be introduced for authorised aircraft while still maintaining safe distances above obstacles on the designated approach paths. It should be noted that the only change relates to the vertical profile in the final few kilometres before landing, and there's no lateral changes. And according to the airport, these approach paths will closely match the current tracks over the ground flown by arriving aircraft to not expand the airport's current noise footprint. However, they would allow for standard approach angles below 5.5 degrees to be used, which do not require steep approach certifications.
Oh, that's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to unlock a lot of, if you get an A320neo out of London City, that's going to unlock a lot of interesting new routes.
Yeah, certainly got the performance to get off the deck, but as they were saying in the article there, some changes are going to be required for the final approach for the aircraft. Perhaps when we've got Andy back on the show, maybe next week, we'll have a chat with him about that and see what his thoughts are. The thing is with City Airport, it can be a bit windy as well. That's the other thing, isn't it? So you kind of, you might be a bit limited with crosswind limits and that kind of thing. But nonetheless, if they think they can do that, that would be a huge benefit, wouldn't it?
It's cool just to explore these things sometimes, isn't it? There's, who knows if you go down these little rabbit holes, what they can lead to. They might find out that it's not possible. But I suppose by having these consultations, you never know what it's going to open up.
David Bone in the chat room makes a good point. He says it's all well good allowing larger aircraft intercity, but I'm not convinced the infrastructure in terms of terminal capacity and ground transportation is there yet. I think certainly ground transportation is not bad, but the terminal itself can get extremely busy. I would agree. Yes.
I'd second that.
So I was flying the 320neo myself on Sunday, and my first flight was in fact taking off from London City. And I have to say that even on a sort of moderately loaded aircraft, the end of the runway comes up very quickly indeed. It was quite alarming actually, but it was interesting though, because we the sort of final exercise we did in the time that we had available was doing a landing into Madeira, and part of the exercise with that was to demonstrate the way that the aircraft does in fact navigate around the quite sort of mountainous approach. So the side of the island there adjacent to the airport is quite steep in places, and the way that the aircraft actually navigates around that is really remarkable. So I have to say, from a sort of safety point of view, it would seem to me that the Neo is definitely up to the job.
Yes, good point. Very good point. But certainly the terminal worked and does work.
Anyway, Nick, you have got the next story. Some food.
Yeah. So this one's from businesstraveller.com, and the headline is Brussels Airlines brings a taste of business class to premium economy. Brussels Airlines is elevating its onboard experience in premium economy this year. Travellers will find more premium flair, starting with upgraded tableware ahead of a broader beef up of its in-flight offerings. Business class also gets a boost, gaining new menus by chef Glenn Verhasselt of Michelin-starred restaurant Sir Quintin. Travellers will begin noticing a difference from mid-March when Belgium's home carrier switches to Chinaware and steel cutlery in premium economy. As the year progresses, menus will also offer more choice, growing from 2 to 3 main course options during each flight's main service. Brussels Airlines also promises that starters will be enhanced and that the smaller meals served before landing will be similarly improved. Printed menus and upgraded headphones will add to the experience, taking a page from the business class handbook. Our aim is to create a boutique hotel in the air and on the ground, said Brussels Airlines head of in-flight product, Thibaut Duwild. Arguably drawing a long bow, Duwild adds that these investments reflect exactly that. While premium economy gains hints of business class service, the experience for those flying in that forward cabin gets even better. On long-haul routes, revised menus will celebrate the best of Belgian cuisine. Under chef Glenn Verhasselt, I'm resisting the temptation to say anything about fries with mayonnaise. Brussels Airlines business class will also come up with more privacy on short-haul flights, with curtains being introduced to separate the cabin from economy. Bottled water before takeoff will become the standard offering, as will refresher towels. Economy flyers aren't without an upgrade either, as the carrier pledges an extra food component on the main meal tray during long-haul flights. Reusable premium cups will also be offered during alcohol services on long-haul and short-haul flights in economy. Brussels Airlines improvements follow a broader suite of changes at the Lufthansa Group carrier. Alongside new business class cabins on long-haul flights, Brussels Airlines also recently completed the renovation of the Loft Lounge at its home hub and rolled out free Wi-Fi to passengers in all cabins where available. A fresh era of flying is also afoot at other Lufthansa Group airlines, including Edelweiss, which is stepping up its business class cabin offering. Lufthansa itself also expects to unlock the bulk of its Boeing 787 business class seats for passenger use by April. While already flying, most of these seats can't currently be occupied due to delays with safety certification. Crikey, I've never heard of that before. That's, it sounds to me like these guys are really trying to muscle in on some of the bigger carriers, aren't they? And sort of give their premium economy a bit of a sort of head and shoulders above some of the other more established airlines.
Have you flown by Brussels Airlines, James, before?
Never. It's one of the only Lufthansa Group airlines I haven't flown, and is firmly on my list. I've done Edelweiss recently and just literally done 2 sectors with Lufthansa when I was emailing you guys about coming on the show. So I went Paris, Frankfurt, Heathrow, and all pretty decent stuff, to be fair, even though it's only intra-European business. But their continued delays on the Allegris seats are causing them a lot of pain. I know that much.
I have to say, the food choices that were on that story look quite nice, as in for standard of food.
Is that not coming back?
Nev, can you hear me?
Yes.
That was not us. That was YouTube.
Oh, okay.
Bizarrely enough. That's bizarre. That's not happened before. Yeah, that was YouTube. That was YouTube. Just dropped us.
Okay. Always blame YouTube, shall we? Makes a change.
I mean, it does make a change.
But they don't answer back, so it's much more convenient.
No.
How bizarre. Apparently YouTube issue that kicked us out. Yes, you were right. Blame the Russians, Sturman says. I like that, Sturman. Very good.
Slightly politically incorrect, but hey ho.
Anyway, shall we move on to the next story? This comes to us from Euronews.com. The Iran war, Middle East aviation remains grounded with airspace and airports closed. Hopefully some are opened. As of Monday, the 2nd of this week, Bahrain, Iran, Iraq, Israel, Jordan, Kuwait, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Syria and the UAE were among the nations that had announced at least a partial closure of their skies. This has forced widespread suspensions and cancellations on diversions, leaving tens of thousands of passengers stranded around the world. The conflict has led to the closure of key airport hubs in Dubai, Abu Dhabi and Doha. And posting on X on Monday, flight tracking website Flight Radar 24 said that currently more than 2,000 flights on Monday from 7 key airports in the Gulf area had been cancelled. The airports, which were Dubai International, Hamad International Airport in Doha, Zayed International Airport in Abu Dhabi, Soraya International Airport, Kuwait International Airport, Bahrain, and Dubai World Centre, Al Maktoum International. With Etihad, they are posting on their social medias on Monday that all flights to and from Abu Dhabi were suspended until 2 p.m. local time on Tuesday this week. However, on Monday afternoon, Etihad's first flight to London Heathrow took off from Zayed International Airport at around 2:39 local time and quickly became the most tracked flight on Flight Radar 24. It's unclear how long the disruption to flight operations could last, which leaves passengers in travel limbo. 3 major airlines in the Gulf, Emirates, Etihad, Qatar, typically have around 90,000 passengers per day crossing through the hubs, and even more travellers heading to destinations in the Middle East, according to aviation analyst company Serum. At least 145 aircraft that were en route to cities like Tel Aviv, Dubai early on Saturday were diverted to airports in cities like Athens, Istanbul or Rome, according to FlightAware. Others were turned round and returned to where they took off from. One plane apparently spent nearly 15 hours in the air after leaving Philadelphia and getting away all the way to Spain before turning around and returning to where it had started. Numerous airlines had cancelled flights to Dubai through the weekend as India's Civil Aviation Agency designated much of the Middle East, including skies above Jordan, Saudi Arabia and Lebanon, a high security risk zone at all altitudes. On Sunday, Flight Radar 24's live map showed the main east-west corridor over Iraq, typically one of the busiest aviation superhighways linking Asia and Europe, almost completely empty. I think I've got a picture of that on there, on the screen. There we go. Low-cost carrier Wizz suspended their flights to and from Israel, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Oman and Saudi Arabia up until including the 7th of March. Turkish Airlines cancelled flights to and from Bahrain, Dammam and Riyadh, Saudi Arabia and Iran, Iraq, Jordan, Kuwait, Lebanon, Oman, Qatar, Syria and the UAE. Air France cancelled their flights until the 3rd of March, yesterday. Dutch Airlines, KLM, is currently not flying through the airspace of Iran and Iraq and Israel. And British Airways, they're not flying to Tel Aviv and Bahrain until today. Flights hopefully should have started today, while a number of flights to the Middle East have also been cancelled. It's been a busy old week, it's safe to say, in the world of aviation. And it's been a memorable week in regards to airlines like Emirates, I think, Nev, who I think I've never known an Emirates Airways flight to ever be cancelled, I think.
Well, of course, when it's war, then, all bets are off, really. And there is a history of commercial airlines being shot down, unfortunately. And people aren't going to risk it. The operators are not going to risk it at all. In fact, our producer John is still stuck out in Rio de Janeiro at the moment. He was on his way back to Dubai, got about 5 hours into the flight, and then it turned around and went back to Rio, where he's been for the last 3 days, I think, along with the crew. So, massive disruption. There's nothing you can do about this. Stuff happens, I'm afraid, and the Middle East has got a history of massive instability, and this is just going to increase it. Obviously, so we can't have commercial airlines flying around. Simple as that. It's very bad news, but we've just got to kind of hang in there and keep everybody safe and make sure that when the airspace is opened up, that it is safe to do so.
I think one of the most shocking things for me, Neb, was the pictures on TV of places in Dubai that me and Gemma have been to in our years of going to Dubai, with explosions going off. It's just mind blowing.
War, Carlos, that's what happened.
It's just, but you just don't expect it in Dubai. You don't expect it in Dubai.
Well, no, and of course, let's face it. All these countries that we just mentioned in the article there, many of them are perfectly safe countries to be in. A lot of them have very large business conferences as well. So you can imagine how many different hotels have got events on years from miles away. It's a huge problem.
Has it affected your flying at all, James? I know you obviously do a lot of flying and you have trips planned. I'd imagine you have trips planned ahead of time.
Yeah, plenty ahead of time. Fortunately, the next trip is the end of this month, and I'm going down to South America for a kind of big sort of US South America trip. So nothing really affected, but just got back from the Middle East 10 days ago. I was in Oman and Qatar, and I've had friends stuck out. They got back this morning from Birmingham on that EK39 flight, which managed to get off the ground. I know BA's got some repatriation flights from Oman, but I think they're fully booked now. There's one, I think, don't quote me on this, going today, tomorrow and the 6th. And I think from BA's social media today, it said they were all fully booked.
Yeah, definitely not going to be anything happening over there for quite some time, I think, until this is all sorted out, and God knows how long that'll be. A shame, indeed. Nev, you've got a good story next. I like this one.
Yeah, I was going to say, would you like a good news story for a change?
Yeah, good news story.
This is a really good one, actually. It says that UK's youngest Somali pilot advances towards a commercial aviation career. Well, at just 18 years old, Suleiman Dida has reached a milestone that many aspiring aviators spend years pursuing: a solo flight and recognition as the United Kingdom's youngest Somali pilot. Born on December the 2nd, 2007 in northwest London to parents from Mogadishu, Dida is part of a generation of young British Somalis entering professions where their community had traditionally been underrepresented, including commercial aviation. His interest in flying began early. As a child, trips to the airport to collect relatives or depart on family holidays left a lasting impression. He was drawn not only to the image of uniformed pilots moving through the terminals, but to the mechanics of flight itself. That interest evolved into disciplined preparation. In his bedroom, Dida assembled a home flight simulator and logged hours on VATSIM, an online network that mirrors real-world air traffic control communications. The platform allowed him to practice aviation phraseology, navigation procedures, and cockpit workflows before he began formal training. In the UK, students can begin flight training in their mid-teens. Dida started at 14, placing him amongst the country's youngest trainees. By 16, he'd completed his first solo flight in a Piper PA-28-140. A first solo requires a student pilot to take full command of the aircraft without an instructor on board, managing takeoff, circuit patterns, and landing independently. The exercise is widely regarded as one of the most demanding psychological thresholds in flight training. Now at 18, Dida continues to build experience in single-engine aircraft, such as the PA-28, whilst working towards professional certification. The path to an airline cockpit in Britain is rigorous and expensive. Training costs can easily exceed £100,000, depending on the route taken. When Dida first shared his ambitions, his family's immediate concern was financial viability. Rather than abandon the plan, he opted for a modular training pathway, which allows students to complete qualifications in stages rather than enrolling in an integrated full-time academy program. The modular route can offer greater financial flexibility and permits trainees to work alongside their studies. Dida began saving towards training costs whilst still in primary school. Incredible. He's currently taking his PPL, and after qualifying, he must accumulate at least 150 hours of flight time before progressing to his commercial pilot license. Subsequent steps include a multi-engine piston rating and a multi-engine instrument rating, enabling operations in multi-engine aircraft and in reduced visibility conditions using cockpit instruments. Alongside practical flying, he's preparing for the 14 airline transport pilot license theoretical examinations, which is a comprehensive academic requirement covering meteorology, aerodynamics, navigation, aircraft systems, flight planning, and human performance. The exams are widely considered amongst the most demanding components of pilot training, and competitive airlines often expect high first-time pass rates. His recent training has included intensive circuit work, repeated takeoffs and landings, as well as glide approaches, which simulate engine power loss and require precise energy management. He's now preparing to begin cross-country navigation training, the final stage before completing his PPL. He has secured a conditional offer with Ryanair to fly the Boeing 737-800 with a bonded type rating agreement for 4 years, a potential first step into commercial airline operations once he completes his required certifications and flight hours. My goal is to become a captain, he said. Aviation isn't just a job, it requires hard work and passion.
Oh,
Goodness,
good on him.
That's extremely ambitious, but you've got to hand it to him. Absolutely incredible.
That's a nice little story, that.
It is. Yeah, very much so. Very much so.
Yeah, I hope he carries on, goes right through into the airlines. That's what we need, more dedicated young pilots like that coming through the system. But as we all know, it costs more than a good portion of a house, Nev, to learn to fly, as we know.
Yes, it's a good mortgage, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, you'd never had any or thoughts or ideas, James, about sitting in the the very front seats on an aircraft.
Yeah, I'd love to. I just don't think any passenger would get on a plane with me at the front in the helm. But yeah, I went through periods of it, and that was the dream growing up, and then ended up being cabin crew, and then yeah, now I do this funky business. So you know what? I'll let the more experienced people take the helm.
Oh. Right, James, you've got the next story, and it's good news for the UK aviation sector.
Absolutely. This one's from Travel Weekly. So it says UK aviation sector sets new 302 million passenger record. So the UK aviation sector saw its busiest 12 months on record with a 2% year-on-year rise in passengers from 295 million to 302 million. The total represents more than the populations of the UK, France, Germany, Spain, Portugal, and the Netherlands combined, according to the Civil Aviation Authority. The regulator's latest aviation trends report notes that the sector broke through records set before the pandemic. The growth looks set to continue, which is great news, with the CAA's recent annual consumer survey suggesting that 1 in 3 people, 31%, plan to fly more this year. This forms part of a long-term growth trend for the sector, as passenger numbers have tripled since 1989. Flight delays continued to drop last year, with 73% of flights operating on time, up 6 percentage points on 2024, but still behind on pre-pandemic levels. The most popular destinations in 2025 were Dublin, Alicante, Dubai, although probably not so much at the moment, Malaga and Palma. Other destinations with the largest increases in passenger numbers included Milan Linate, 453,000 more passengers, Krakow with 326,000 more passengers, and Malta with 301,000. Some of the airports with the largest growth in passenger numbers, including Edinburgh, up 8%, Liverpool up 11%, and Newcastle up 7%. Aviation, Maritime and Decarbonisation Minister Keir Mather said that a record year for passenger numbers underlines the importance of boosting airport capacity as we progress our work to prepare for a third runway at Heathrow and drive forward approved expansion plans at Gatwick and Luton. Expansion will unlock more choice for passengers, could create thousands of highly skilled jobs and strengthen our global connectivity while backing UK's aviation continued growth. Airlines UK Chief Executive Tim Alderslade said this data confirms aviation's role as a growth engine for the UK economy, meeting the needs and aspirations of the British public whose desire to travel has never been greater. UK airlines are working hard to meet this demand whilst providing ever greater choice and service, competitive fares, and reducing our environmental impact. Airports UK Chief Executive Karen Dee said it's great to see the UK aviation continues to grow and that people view the opportunity to fly for business and leisure as increasingly important. This enables aviation to play its part in driving economic growth and in the social and leisure life of the UK, despite a highly competitive environment and significant potential headwinds on the horizon. It's vital for the sector, the regulator and the government to work together to ensure these challenges do not undermine the UK's place as a world leader in aviation and the connectivity that we rely on to reach global markets, stay in touch with friends and family, and go on much needed holidays. Now, CAA Consumers and Markets Director Selina Chadha said it has never been more popular to fly, and 2025 was officially a record-breaking year. While the sector grows from strength to strength, we continue working with aviation partners to drive even higher safety standards and protect passengers when they fly.
Now, Nev, you obviously don't do as much flying as you used to do, but did you back when you before you finished doing your regular flying and stuff most weeks and that, did you notice that the trend was there was more people going through the airports than probably?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no questions about it at all. So last year I did all my big flying was 2024, I suppose, coming into 25. And extremely busy time. Really popular, not just the holiday destinations, but all the scheduled stuff as well. Business flying was greater than ever, I would say. So it's no real surprise to see that the sector is up again. Now, obviously, we're going to have these hiccups in the Middle East that we've got at the moment, but I really think that's a temporary situation. And once all that's calmed down, all that will be back up and running again. So yeah, it's phenomenal, and it's good to see some expansion at some of the airports as well, especially places like Edinburgh as well, Copenhagen, some of those airports. So yeah.
Do you think, James, that the fact that there are so many, cheap flights and kind of easy to afford holidays that you can get with like airlines like Jet2 and EasyJet holidays as well, that there's more availability now for people to be able to go on holiday and fly for a lot less money?
I think, it's certainly a consideration, isn't it? And I think the cost is, with competition at an all-time high, especially amongst the kind of Jet2s, TUIs, Ryanairs, EasyJets, etc. I think they're in such a bidding war when it comes to flight prices that it's driven the market into a place now where people see, instead of going to Butlins or something for a weekend, you can actually get something even cheaper than that abroad, by jumping on a cheap flight. So that's certainly probably part and parcel of these figures going through the roof.
Have you ever found one of those $16.99 flights, James?
The cheapest flight I ever did, I went to Geneva for £9 with EasyJet, and it was a special fare. I think it was about 3 years ago. It was £9. When I rang them up to book it, she said, "I've never seen a flight this cheap." So yeah, £9 for EasyJet to Geneva. That's my cheapest flight goal.
I wish my trip to Geneva was that cheap. My word.
It wasn't cheap when I was there, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
I spent 10 times that on my bottle of water and evening meal, so there we go.
I could definitely agree with you there, James. It's not the cheapest place to go. Definitely not the cheapest place to go. Nev, can you sort of think back to all the flights you've ever BA? Can you remember one of those flights of BA that was like really cheap?
Well, actually, some of the shuttles I did to Edinburgh and back, because I didn't have to take the first flight of the day or the last flight of the day, which tends to be more expensive, I was able to sort of go during the middle of the day, and you could get even some of the business class fares were really competitive. Certainly flying to Stockholm Arlanda as well, which I did a lot. There were some really good fares there. I'm thinking of, if in economy, not a cabin I wouldn't normally go in, obviously, but if I were to book an economy fare to Arlanda, there was sort of 150, 160 quid return at one point, which was phenomenal. So, but yeah, I mean, BA aren't known for inexpensive fares, let's be honest about it. And it's all a question of timing, of when you want to go, and also how much notice you've given as well. That said, with things like Avios, although with all the mucking about of changes, Sue and I have been able to go to Fuerteventura in May for £50 each, business class, by using some Avios and a companion voucher. So there are deals out there, definitely.
I was going to say, Nev, did you find yourself using the points to get the flights cheaper on a lot of the flights you'd done?
Yes. Yes, I did in order to get a discounted fare, because my company would only pay for even premium economy if the flight was over 8 hours. So if I wanted to do anything myself, I would have to upgrade it either with points or with money, real money, my own money. So, but yeah, that's where I did it.
Are you a fan of the point schemes, James? I'm guessing that you're probably a gold purse or gold member with BA or one of the airlines.
We were talking about this. Yeah, so I'm bronze now. So I've dropped down. I was caught up in BA's disastrous loyalty restructuring, and I was one of the victims. But no, I certainly couldn't do my channel without points, and I have, I think, just about an account with every single points program across the world, with sort of silly little pots, 2,000 here, 3,000 there, and then my main kind of loyalty is still with One World at the moment, but growing increasingly fond of the SkyTeam alliance with Virgin Atlantic, especially. I was saying to Nev before the show began that cheeky little status match deal they did recently has poached quite a lot of BA's customers for sure.
Can you buy, just quickly, Nev, can you buy points with BA rather than gaining points through flying? I'm guessing
you can still you can buy Avios points, but you can't buy tier points, is my understanding, even with the changes in the system. So you have to fly on real equipment to gain your status points, basically.
But
the only way to boost your status points is to do that kind of carbon offsetting. I think that boosts your points, but you certainly can't buy them. Yeah.
But you're still gold, Nev.
until the end of March,
Ah.
and then
It's
it's the slippery slope.
oh my word! We're going to have a special show, I think, dedicated to the downfall of Nev's BA status.
I don't think it'll be a very popular show. It'll be a very short show, I think.
Oh, what a shame! Right, Nick, you've got sad news here. Or if you're a lover of the BAE 146.
Yes, this one's from chaviation.com. I had to put this one in the show notes because I think we all feel a bit sad when an aircraft gets retired, and I know that last time we talked about the 146, Nev, I can't remember what it was. You said there was some sort of joke about it being the only aircraft with 4 APUs or something like that.
Yes, that's the standard joke about the aircraft. Yes.
But even so, it's still a bit of a shame when one gets retired. So the headline is UK Research Centre to retire only BAE 146-300. The United Kingdom's National Centre for Atmospheric Science will end the Facility for Airborne Atmospheric Measurements programme by April 2026, retiring the research lab's BAE 146-300 operated by Airtask. Following review, the Natural Environment Research Council, NERC, has concluded that the aircraft no longer offers value for money to the public because of a significant increase in costs and low planned utilisation. The NERC, which funds the programme, said that the decision to withdraw funding will save nearly £32 million over the spending review period and avoid a further £5 million in costs. Golf Lima Uniform X-Ray Echo is a 45-and-a-half-year-old aircraft. The first BAE 146 ever built by BAE Systems, and it's been parked at Cranfield since the 4th of August last year. The aircraft has always been operated as a test bed and demonstrator and was never in fully commercial service. It is owned by UK Research and Innovation and was recently operating exclusively on behalf of the agency. Its last third-party contract with the UK Met Office ended in 2024. NERC said it would pivot to uncrewed aircraft and advanced sensors to replace the BAE 146. It's the only large aircraft operated by Airtask. The company also operates 5 BN2s, 4 Reims Cessna F406s, and a single Tecnam P2012, a mix of charter flights and scheduled services in Scotland under the Hebridean Air Services brand. So there we go. We're going to pour one out for the poor old 146. There's not many of them left now, I don't think.
No, and I mean, people got different views on the aircraft. It's one of my favourites, that's for sure. It enabled jet operations into and out of London City Airport. People like Air UK did very well with them on the regional operations. Swiss Air and Crossair did very well with them on short haul European legs, and also down in Australia as well. I think Ansett and one or two others took them. So yeah, it's and of course it's quite a, the aircraft itself was manufactured at Woodford in the northwest of England and Hatfield, not too far from where I live. So yeah, and it enabled some really good operations, but not the most powerful aircraft in the sky, though, it has to be said.
I'm going to put the picture on the screen again, Nev, for those watching in YouTube. Those engines, when you look at the size of the aircraft and then you look at the size of those engines on that aircraft, I get the whole hairdryer thing, because you have to admit they just look so small.
Having said that, when you're going off the deck at London City Airport and you've got 4 of those things going like the clappers, you do really get pushed back in your seat. That's for sure. Yeah, so no, that's another 146 gone, sadly.
Ever flown on the 146, James?
No, I haven't. What was the one that BA had with the little? This is probably one for Nev with the little link up to. Was it Billund in Denmark?
Yes, that was the Dornier, which
The
looks
Dornier,
like a
yeah.
146 with 2 engines, doesn't it?
It does. It looks pretty similar. But
yeah,
I always tried to get on that, but it couldn't. It never seemed to make that one work either.
Yeah, I flew that back from Billund to Manchester. Actually, I was doing a job for Lego at the time. So yeah, that was a very nice aircraft, I have to say. Not huge interior, but then the 146 isn't either. So, yeah, that Dornier looked like a 146 with 2 engines, basically.
It did indeed.
And if you're in the east of England, near to London Norwich, or our local airport here, Norwich Airport, at the museum, they a few years back, I don't know if you remember, Nev, they actually acquired a 146, or I think it's an RJ 146 actually, in the museum there, and it's if my memory recalls, it is about 95% all there, including engines, avionics, and everything, and you can go on board the aircraft and look round. It's quite good. I think when you're this way again, Nev, I think we'll take a trip over to Norwich Aviation Museum.
Yes,
I think you'll like it
absolutely.
there. Yeah. Right, Nev, it's time to head off back to the. I was going to say back to the future then. Now, James, we do a segment on the show each week called our Retro Airline Ad of the Week. So we have a look at adverts from back when adverts were, well, slightly different.
Proper adverts.
Yeah, proper adverts, exactly, yeah. So I shall hand things over to Nev to introduce this week's list of Retro Airline ads.
Yes, so this is a good one this week. We head off to space with Piedmont Airlines. Can you remember Piedmont Airlines? And then it's time for us all to head off to the pub for a 1980s style pint.
In 1969, man flew farther than ever before.
So are you, Houston.
But as far as flying has come, it still has a long way to go, especially flying to many smaller cities back home. At Piedmont, we fly to places other major airlines don't, linking the smaller cities with the bigger cities over 1,000 times a day. Because Piedmont believes a trip here shouldn't feel like you're making a trip there.
When you want to stretch your legs, most airlines give you only one place to go. Not Continental. Because we're putting a pub on every wide-bodied flight in the continental U.S. You see, Continental Airlines thinks that people who pay good money for an airline seat deserve a better place to go.
And Mike's coming up.
Magazine rack.
There we go, Nev.
Mm.
A pub in the sky.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, Virgin perfected the bar in the sky, didn't they?
Oh, the upper class,
back
with
in the
the
day.
747s, yeah. And Emirates obviously do the. They've got their bar now upstairs, I think, in the 380s, haven't they, where you can go up and have a drink. But
Absolutely.
what do you think of those, James?
Oh, brilliant! Bring back the pub. I want someone to do it really authentically, where there's like a pack of pork scratchings on the wall and some scampi fries, and a proper good, Guinness on draft or something. We need a proper British version of a pub in the sky.
Get some horse brasses in there.
Horse
Absolutely.
brasses, yeah.
Nice.
Do you remember?
Very well.
I was going to say, do you remember PSA? I think we talked about it before on the show now. PSA, that when they had the TriStars, had that a bar lounge area on the lower deck that you could walk downstairs to, and there was like a grand bar, and I think they even had a piano down there as well.
Phenomenal.
Bring that back, I say.
Yeah.
Bring back. Right, Nev, we have got our ever rapidly approaching 600 show coming up very soon in May. And have you got some updates?
We have, yes. I spent the day at Duxford today, so I went up to see the events team at the Imperial War Museum in Duxford, who are organising our event for us, which went extremely well, I have to say. met up with Russell, who is their aviation, or one of their aviation historians, and he's also an expert guide from the IWM. So he's actually going to be joining us for the whole day, all being well, to tell us all about the history of Duxford. So that's going to be really interesting, I would say, especially for those people that haven't visited before. Also, Alan White will be presenting too. He'll be telling us about his flying career, as well as his varied work on the fixed wing assets for the Irish Coast Guard. He's currently flying the company's Super King Air aircraft, and some of the flying that he's involved with is fantastic. Armando is also going to be giving us a presentation as well, and he's also going to be talking to some of his local chums there as well. So I think that could be a very interesting session. We're just waiting for some confirmation about who else is going to be presenting that day. There'll also be a quiz for those who are attending the event. And thank you to John Falk very much for offering to provide us with some excellent prizes. Now, I've also managed to negotiate a 2-hour admission to the museum as part of your ticket. It won't be enough, obviously, so you might want to come back another day, but at least it'll give you a good flavour of what's going on there. The date, of course, Friday the 22nd of May, 2026, at the Imperial War Museum, Duxford, at the Airside Suite. If you'd like to join us, you need to pay us some money, £60 by the 1st of April, please. PTUK Patreon or PayPal account. And the details of those are on the Support Us tab on the front page of our website. So I then went up to the Red Lion, which is the pub that we're using for our food. That's all good. Mrs. Nev and I had a sample of their food, which was really tasty, I have to say, for our lunch. So that was great as well. They'll know we're coming, and I've just got to do a table plan for them. So I shall be choosing who sits next to whom. That's going to be a lot of fun, isn't it? Or a complete disaster, depending on which way you look at it. Anyway, so I'll be doing that in the next couple of weeks or so. But yeah, really looking forward to it. And yeah, it's not that far away now, is it? So yeah, should be good.
Yeah, and if you're there at the museum, obviously you'll be able to get a chance to, hopefully, in that time slot, and have a chance to go and have a walk on to Concorde, which is
yes. And the nice thing is where the Airside Suite is right next to the main part of the museum where Concorde is, and the Mark 24 Spitfire, I think I'm right in saying as well. So you did literally go from the conference room, 10 meters, and you're straight into the museum itself. They've also said that if we want to go to the American hangar, the American Museum, which is quite a long walk, they'll actually put on a minibus service for us as well. So rather than having to walk all the way up there, then all the way back, they would do a minibus service for us too, which would be rather handy, wouldn't it?
It would be. Yeah, you definitely need a good pair of shoes on when you're visiting Duxford, especially if you're walking from one end to the other end. But you've also got the American hangar there as well, haven't you, Nev, with some great display aircraft in there. And also not forgetting the maintenance sheds, which they normally have open, that you can walk through to watch aircraft being worked on, such as the Mustangs and Spitfires and Hurricanes that they have there as well on site, which could be quite nice as well. Have you been there before, James?
I have indeed. It's great little museum, and also one of these, you need to kind of support these places. I've done a couple of museums on my channel, but all these kind of museums that preserve these bits of history, we've got to get behind them for sure.
Yeah, if you're around in May, James, you'll have to come and say hello.
Let me check my calendar. If I'm free, I shall be there. I'll pop up and say hello.
Right, Nev, we are going to have a chat with our guest now, James. As I've said, it's been an interesting show today, but welcome and thanks for coming on the show. James, I subscribe to you on YouTube. Obviously, you do a travel kind of vlog series on there where you kind of go on to various different airlines and sample what kind of offers they have. I have to say, I find your reviews very, how do I put this? Very honest. There are a lot of travel vloggers on YouTube who do these kind of things, but you're very, very just kind of you tell it as it is. You know, there's no fanciness behind it. But yeah, how did it all start with you, James? Obviously, we started back in November 2013, believe it or not. But when did it all start for you?
So literally last year. Thank you very much as well, firstly, for having me on, because it's really kind of you. And, you know, I'm a big fan of what you guys do. So I've got to put that out there that you guys, you know, do some cracking stuff on this channel as well. And I think honesty is really important. You know, I think we live in an age now where there's quite a lot of sensationalist content out of there. And I think for me to probably do some of the reviews I do, say, you know, sitting in a Virgin Atlantic upper class seat, I think to sit there and, you know, do it in a style that some YouTubers do it in, you know, which does seem quite sensationalist or spoilt bratty kind of, you know, vibes. I think to myself, you have to kind of pinch yourself sometimes and kind of remember how lucky you are to fly it. Because I've got a lot of friends that, you know, that aren't in the points game or don't necessarily spend as, you know, through certain credit card providers that unlock these kind of trips that I do and the husband does. So you have to be kind of quite, you know, careful of that as well. And that is always in the back of my mind when I do any review. It doesn't mean I'm not honest, but I think there's certainly a way to deliver criticism in a polite way, which gets the point across. So yeah, I started last year. I started in February. I did my very first film was a Finnair review on their air lounge business class product on the A330. And I should have done this a long time ago. I've been flying for so many years and done some really cool trips that I didn't film, and I'm kind of quite mad with myself now that I didn't film them. But you know, when is the good time to start? Well, I've done this for a year now, pretty much. I think my anniversary was like a couple of weeks ago, and I still love it as much as I did when I first got on that Finnair flight.
I have to say, I watched one of your recent ones, James, was the Swiss, the long haul one you done, and I thought that was the lounge. I think it was the first, one of the business lounges I think you went in. The food options in there were absolutely incredible.
Yeah, there was some good stuff. I mean, I absolutely adore, you know, I'm very kind of stereotypical when it comes to food, as in I eat anything. I'm not really fussy, but yeah, I'll eat anything. But there was some good options there, some good hearty German kind of Swiss crossover foods, and that's a really nice lounge. I did the other lounge as well in the other Swiss video that I did at the start of the Edelweiss. It's kind of a crossover. I flew Heathrow to Zurich and then Zurich down to Naples. First leg was Swiss, second leg with Edelweiss, and managed to do their sort of newly renovated lounge in Zurich Airport, and again some really good food options on offer there too.
Now, as you probably guessed, James, our very own Mr. Bounds, Neville Bounds, who's here with us this evening, is Mr. BA through and through. Nev has been lucky. He's the one sort of member of the team who does, or did up until he retired, visit many different lounges and different airports around Europe. But give us your take on let's go for Heathrow's T5 BA lounge first. And Nev, let's see what your thoughts are as well.
So T5 lounge. So galleries has kind of gone through a bit of a period where you look at it and you think, and this is just being objective, you kind of walk in expecting something, and for me personally, I don't know what Nev's thoughts on it is, but it doesn't really hit as a kind of premium lounge. Now it kind of has a sort of Plaza Premium kind of vibes, and there's nothing wrong at all with a Plaza Premium. There's some good ones around the world, but it doesn't kind of have that like truly luxurious feel to it. Now, when I got engaged to my husband, British Airways very kindly, because my friend at the time was the head of PR, gave us access to the Concorde room, and that for me is in a kind of league of its own, and that's where kind of that premium element really comes into the service delivery, and the time in that part of the lounge is great. But galleries for me need some work, and with what BA are doing now across the world, they're starting to retrofit their lounges now. So I think Dubai's been done. I believe Miami's recently had a little overhaul. So they're kind of moving away from that stiff upper lip kind of design, that very stereotypical British design, to more reds, golds, a bit more premium feel to it. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with Heathrow when they start to close those lounges and do that retrofit.
Nev, what are your thoughts?
Yes, I couldn't agree more, actually, James. Yeah, I'm using the the first lounge, or I will be until I had to lose my gold card, of course. But that was very tired, and also it's very hot up there. It's the aircon is never at the right temperature, and it's just, I mean, the staff that run it are fantastic, no problem with that at all. But just the atmosphere and the environment leaves a lot to be desired. Slightly better actually is down at Gatwick. I've noticed when we've been using the first lounge down there. That's quite a big improvement. But then it's a more modern or more recently retrofitted arrangement as well. So it's all looking a bit tired, but yeah, there are plans afoot to make it better. Unfortunately, a lot of the BA customers may have flipped to other airlines by then, but we'll have to see.
We said this earlier, didn't we? And I think it would be nice to see BA do something really different with the lounge. I mean, if you look at other providers around the world, there's take Finnair, for example, in their Helsinki lounge, their flagship lounge. I was very, very lucky to go in their Platinum Wing, and they've got a sauna in there. Yes, on the face of it, it's completely impractical, isn't it? But it's just things like that. I mean, Virgin used to have the spa there, they have the hairdressers, and they're constantly kind of reinventing things in the clubhouse that just have kind of different angles and different kind of unique selling points to it. So it would be interesting to see BA. I know they're more reserved as an airline and kind of have that kind of, I say, stiff upper lip kind of approach. It's that kind of refined British mustn't grumble kind of design. But it would be nice if they had something in there that was a bit different and lends perspective to that space, because it is a really nice space. And a bit of a hack as well. I mean, you're probably onto this one, Nev, more than I am, but I always go down to the B gates if I can as well, because it's much quieter down at Heathrow there.
Yeah, absolutely. No, you're right. And you're dead right about Finnair as well. Sue and I went on the A350 to Helsinki and back last year. And used the Finnair lounge at Helsinki. Not the one that you went into, I don't think. But nonetheless, I mean, the food quality, the ambience, the lighting, the temperature, it was just so nice and really quiet. I mean, even though there was a lot of people in there, it wasn't too noisy. So from an acoustic point of view, it was great as well.
It's an epic lounge for sure, and even their main lounge, which is I mean, the Platinum Wing was closed. It was just the guy was so excited. I was filming. He was like, let me take you in, and you can have 20 minutes in there and just sort of walk around. Didn't even check who I was. I could have been taking all sorts of stuff, but had a little kind of private tour, and it's beautiful. But the main lounge again, it's stunning, and that Air Lounge product, you either love it or you hate it. I've said that time and time again. In fact, in 25 odd days, my husband and I are flying up to Helsinki. It's his first time in the Air Lounge, and for someone that's 6'3", he better like it, because there's some good space in that seat. And I think with that seat as well, it's an interesting one, because a lot of people, you say a no recline business class seat, and I think most people kind of tap out at that point. But I think it's one of those things I think you should try. You can get some cracking Avios redemptions on it as well, with it being a One World partner, and just go and do it, because it's very difficult to explain how it works. It just kind of works.
Yeah, I agree. And actually, I found it very comfortable. I'm just on 6 foot, and it would work perfectly for me. So, we'll have to see. But no, it's a great... I do like the Finnair product, generally speaking, I must say. They do a great job.
Yeah, they've adapted across the years. I think their economy product still has a little bit of work. We flew to Japan with them, and the only reason we took the Japan flight was because geeky old me wanted to fly over the North Pole, and it was one of those moments where we didn't know we were going to get the North Pole flight or not. And at the very last minute, the captain said to us, "We are flying over the North Pole and taking that shortcut." So I got my little certificate, and it's things like that I think that Finnair do really well. They're very, very keen on that kind of Finnish spirit and embodying the brand. And I wish more airlines that did this, tied into that nationalism and that patriotism. Wherever you're from, you should really embody that country's product and spirit. And some airlines, I just flew, I can't remember which airline I flew recently, and their long haul beer was like a Heineken. And I'm like, there's so many good beers. I think it was Turkish Airlines actually, in economy, and it was great, really good product. But get a Turkish beer on there, get a Turkish wine on there. They're not renowned for making the best wines in the world, but stay true to where your airline's based, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, brilliant.
Do you tend to base your kind of trips, James, on the economy experience, or do you kind of try and fly business class as much as you can, or do you try and sort of compare the different kind of levels of travel?
Yeah, I flick between cabins. I've done premium economy business, and I love all. Obviously, if anyone's gonna put a gun to my head, I'll take a business class seat, for sure. But I think it's important to review all the cabins, and I think economy is the most accessible cabin because 85% of my viewers are going to be flying that economy product. But I've done lots of business class. I've just come back and done 2 legs. I did a leg, little spoiler alert, but I returned to Qatar Airways. I don't know if any of you have seen my Qatar Airways economy review, but that certainly did not make me a very popular person. Without going into too much detail, if you haven't seen it, I think just about every single thing that could have gone wrong on that flight, those 2 sectors went wrong. And I wasn't a big fan of Qatar at that stage, but returned to them recently. And, without spoiling future viewing, I just did their Q Suite Light on the 787-9 out of Copenhagen. Let's just say I was most impressed. So it was really nice. And then came back with Oman Air to Paris in business class as well on their 787-9 as well. And that was an equally good product too.
Yeah, I must admit, a few years back, James, I flew to Oman with Oman Air on a 330, and it was an awful experience. It's probably one of the worst cabins I think I've ever sat in.
I've heard mixed things about Oman Air. Funny you should say that. And I was speaking to some of the crew, because obviously they've just gone through quite a retrofitting product with their business cabin. They've introduced a product called Business Studio. I think all these airlines have fancy names. Essentially, it's one of 3 or 4 airline seat manufacturers, and they put a fancy spin on it, which is their prerogative. But the seat I had wasn't the Business Studio; it was the 787-9 product. But it's probably one of the lengthiest beds. No exaggeration. I think if you were 7 foot, you would have still been able to lie flat comfortably. It's an interesting product. The only slight kind of issue I had with it is it's that 222 formation with the seat set slightly back. So I'd got some random stranger next to me who happened to be lovely, really polite and friendly, and we got a bright old laugh. But it's great if you're traveling as a couple, but if you're traveling alone, it's kind of a bit of a roll the dice moment to see who you're going to get next to you.
Now, it's looking at economy seats. Obviously, you've been going a little while, and you've flown quite a few different airlines. I see you flew back with Hong Kong Express, was one of your recent episodes. Their low cost carrier over in Asia. Who would you say, in your view, of all the airlines you've flown economy in, who has the best and most comfortable seating in economy?
Crikey. Holos, if I had £1 every time somebody asked me this question, I'd be a very, very rich man. In fact, I'd probably be flying first class all the time. It's my go-to answer all the time. So far, I would probably say JAL, the Japan Airlines product in economy, is really industry leading. And it's industry leading because they're doing something that is far more on a premium economy spectrum in economy than any other airline is doing. It's really, really nicely laid out. It's a great cabin. It's on the Dreamliner, which we flew from Honolulu to Osaka. And if there's ever an economy seat that my husband can sit in without his knees being crushed, it just gets the instant thumbs up from him. But then you tie that into little detail-driven services with the meal service, which was great, handing out menus in economy. Full bar service, which mirrors that kind of premium element, not just free flowing spirits. There was hot miso soup and all sorts of really nice Japanese touches, and local tie-ins as well. So there was kind of Hawaiian biscuits on departure, Japanese snacks as well available. So that was a really good industry leading economy product. And I think out of all the ones I've flown in the last kind of 12 to 24 months, that's probably still pretty up the top of the list.
It's funny you say it, because we often talk on the show about Emirates as being the kind of at the forefront of cabin seating and service and stuff. I've flown their economy product a number of times and their business product as well. Yet to fly in their premium economy, but I have to say, having seen the videos online of Emirates Premium, I definitely want to try it because it looks absolutely stunning, I have to say.
Yeah, it's a beautiful product. I mean, those leather seats in premium are great. It looks a great product. And I always say, when I do my consultancy work with PaxX and different airlines and kind of airline groups and focus groups, I always say, we have to look sometimes at the way that airlines spend money. And this was one of the issues I had with Qatar at the time, was when I flew Qatar Airways, they genuinely pitched themselves as an industry-leading premium carrier. And to the most part, in their business class cabins and their first class cabins, I would absolutely having flown them recently on that Q Suite Lite product, I would absolutely agree with that. I think what then happens is you kind of have this disconnect with economy where the product that I experienced was worse than some of the carriers that you wouldn't necessarily expect to be providing a good economy service. And I think sometimes with Emirates in the past, you look at what they've done. So their industry-leading ICE entertainment system, for example, where they were some of the first carriers in the world to allow you to watch live sport and live news, and that's a USP that really sets you apart from other airlines. The difficulty is with some of these carriers now is they're still banking on the same USP that made them famous 4 years ago. And we need to kind of move along and move forward. Airlines need to constantly reinvent. And, it's like Virgin Atlantic, they're taking the bars out of their aircraft. And, that absolutely pained me because I love that bar. I'm quite a saddo, but it's just such a cool USP. And it's going to be interesting to see where Virgin go next because there's going to be a USP. Obviously, they tried the loft on the 350 and the 330 Neo. And it's going to be interesting to see what they're obviously going to put more seats there, but will they replace that with something different or will they put something else into their service flow? And I think that's the half the battle for these airlines is staying ahead of the competition by constantly replicating and doing something different rather than banking on ideas that made them famous sort of 4 or 5 years ago.
Now, obviously, as we were saying, Nev, very much a BA man. They've been getting quite a knock in the press over the last kind of year or so. There's a lot of people saying that the service standards have gone down. I mean, I have to say that all the times I've flown with BA, I think the service has been fantastic. I've been lucky enough to fly with Nev a few times as well with BA, and I'm very lucky indeed, thanks to Nev, to fly back from Dubai back in 2019. Yeah, 2019 from the Dubai Air Show with BA on what we didn't realise then was going to be the last trip on a 747-400 in business class. But would you say that BA are getting better now, James, or do you think there's still room for improvement?
Look, I think there's always room for improvement, and me and Nev were talking pre-show, and I think with BA, you can't deny, and look, I'm not going to say anything here that's going to get me into trouble or sued, but I think you can't deny that BA have had a pretty disastrous kind of string of PR incidents where you look at them, and I always say it's okay to come into a consultant and, after the fact, but, instead of going into crisis communications, let's think about some of these ideas and changes before we actually implement them. And I think a lot of times BA have had a kind of approach in the past, certainly in the last 24 months, where they've made decisions, made changes, implemented them, and then gone, actually, it's not working, and we're losing all this customer, we're losing this loyalty. And two of those ones I said to Nev was, I'm sure Nev may or may not agree, but the first one was obviously that big change to the British Airways Club loyalty program, where it moved towards more of a spending-based pattern, which cut out a lot of their loyalty travellers. A lot of their kind of leisure travellers, sorry. And the second one was Brunchgate, which, upset far more people than I think BA accounted on. And similar to these politicians that run the country at the moment and other parties in the past, they've been subject to quite a numerous set of PR U-turns where they've had to then go back and say, actually, we're scrapping it. And I think to myself, I know BA run focus groups with a lot of passengers and some of their highest tiered members, but I've always said you've got to get some passengers in that have only flown BA once as well, because that feedback's just as important. And we've gone through a pattern where their leadership over the years, and I know Sean Dall, that's not on a friendship level, but I've met him, 3 or 4 times, and I have got a lot of time for Sean. He is deeply passionate about the airline. And deeply passionate about its success and survival, and it's no mean feat running an airline, of course. But over the years, we've had other people in, and it's just interesting to see that different style of management. Alex Cruz, another CEO, I think he came from Vueling and was very much of the ilk of, if it's not hammered down and screwdrivered in, he can charge for it, and it kind of moved BA into more of a low cost model. And then we had other people. When I was at BA, it was a man called, not the CEO, but the head of customer experience was a man called Frank van der Post, a Dutch guy, and he was exceptional. So detail driven, and he, whenever he was traveling for business, would literally just walk around and interview the cabin, and say, look, this is who I am. Please, I don't want to hear the positives. Just tell me any of the negatives. And he'd have his little notepad and pen and go back. And I think we lack some of that directive leadership within BA at the moment. That's probably why there's been kind of a few issues over the last 12 to 24 months.
Do you think? What do you think, Nev? Hello?
Are you unmuted, Carlos?
Oh, sorry. That's my fault. What do you think, Nev, on that? Obviously, you've seen changes. We've been flying BA a heck of a long time.
Well, I think the thing is that I agree with everything James just said. If you go back even further, then we've got that small thing called the pandemic, and that resulted in an awful lot of layoffs. Cabin crew, flight deck crew, maintenance. I mean, it was just devastating, not just at BA, but right across multiple companies and multiple sectors as well. And then trying to get those people, or the sort of people that you would want to come back, is challenging. And as one, I was talking to one cabin service director soon after the pandemic finished, actually. And he was saying the thing is that, we can get people that are qualified on the aircraft and they will serve you perfectly well. They'll also get you out of the aircraft safely and quickly in the event of an incident. But are they the best people at customer service and all the rest of it? And the answer was not necessarily. And this is what happens when you lose experience, when you lose people with 5 or 10 years or more experience on the aircraft or working in that particular cabin. To get people back in a hurry is a problem. And I think that's been all airlines' difficulties since the pandemic. Now, as things have moved on a bit, things have improved, but not without some bumps in the road. And BA, you would definitely say, have put themselves in that category, unfortunately. It has to get better. There's no question about it, because people will be choosing other carriers. They'll go, actually, do we really want to go out of Heathrow? We'll just take a short hop across to Schiphol or to Frankfurt or somewhere else, and we'll take Lufthansa from there, or we'll take Emirates or whatever it is. So it's a massive competition problem. Also, I think that people. We often hear, don't we, that the airlines often say we only really make any money in the premium cabins, so the business and first class. So having a very snazzy premium economy and a good value premium economy is good for the punters, but not necessarily good for the airlines, because they need people in business at least in order to make revenue. And bearing in mind that the revenue that they've all lost during the pandemic is just eye-watering. So it's very difficult to recover from that quickly, I would say.
Some really good points, and I think from a crew perspective, having flown as crew, I think the way COVID just obliterated anything, there was no real consultation periods. It was just kind of compulsory redundancies. And I think you look at a lot of people change their direction, I think, job-wise, in terms of what they wanted to do. I think a lot of people lost a lot of passion for the industry. It was always kind of seen as a very safe job, a very safe industry to work in. And I think COVID changed our perspective for all of us, both travellers and people that work in the industry. And it changed a lot. And another thing I think BA's really got to work on is, I've had some really good BA experiences of late, some really good ones. My last Club Europe flight was great. It was really good. I flew back from Frankfurt to London. It was a wonderful experience. It is very much on the day, the crew make it or break it. And I think a lot of BA loyalists stand by that phrase. But sort of long haul outstation catering is one of BA's massive pain points. And I think it's something that they've really struggled with for years. I flew back from Rio de Janeiro back to London on that link that starts off in Buenos Aires. And, it was, I booked it, at the time of, it was a 350 and was quite excited to be on a relatively new aircraft, and then got swapped out to a 777-200 at the last minute because it was the summer-winter change, and suddenly started questioning all my life choices. But the catering on that was nothing short of awful. And if you go back and watch that one, it was, everything tasted synthetic and this kind of really soapy taste in economy, or this, and I have a really sort of agreement with my subscribing group that follow me on YouTube, that I have this thing against any starter that has couscous or pasta or seeds. We don't want it. No one likes it. It's not tasty. I don't want to eat a small pot of flavourless bland couscous. And recently, I've had airlines that have done something, different. A caprese salad. It's the same cost price. It's tomatoes, oil, balsamic vinegar, bit of mozzarella in there. People want to eat it. It looks good. And whenever I do consultancy on food, as much as I don't claim to be a Michelin star chef, I can tell you now. I think we may, unless I'm putting words in your mouth, I think all of us would probably agree that we should be binning that couscous salad.
Oh yeah, shouldn't be allowed. Absolutely. Yeah.
Welcome aboard, Nev.
Yeah, definitely. No, I think that it's interesting. I mean, I've more or less only flown BA in the last 10 years or so. Prior to that, because I worked in Sweden a lot, I was flying SAS twice, 3 times a week, very often, and that was a really good experience as well. But of course, it was a different time. This was in the 1990s, and before the pandemic, before all the airlines had problems with massive increase in fuel costs and this kind of stuff. So, but yeah, the margins can be very thin, and I think customer loyalty will go a long way to help that. And I think BA realised that, but maybe they realised it too late, unfortunately. So that's, I think, a big problem for them.
I think I absolutely agree with you. And, sometimes these decisions, I don't think I was reading an article the other day, and I think Callum Laming, who is the CCO that stood down in December, I think he was the longest serving CCO, Chief Customer Officer, for some time. I think they've always had a pain point with that position. And I don't know if it's a position that gets advertised and people come into it with great ideas and they're not allowed to enact that change, or something else is going on. But I think a lot of those positions that people have tried to crack that. There was, I think, Carolina Martinoli and a couple of other people in the past. They've really struggled to kind of retain somebody in that position. And I think when you've got that position turning over every 9 to 12 months, what change is going to be enacted? Because someone's going to come in and say, actually, I don't like what Callum's proposed, or I don't like what Carolina's proposed. And then you go back to the drawing board. And from a customer perspective, then it puts your passengers into an area of the industry where they don't see change for 24 months or 36 months. And like you say, Nev, at that point, people have questioned their loyalty, if not already made the move to a different airline.
Yeah, absolutely. Nick, have you got any questions you'd like to ask James?
So I guess from my point of view, I must apologise because I've not come across your YouTube channel as yet. I will be correcting that. So I was wondering if for other people like myself that haven't come across your channel yet, where can we find you, and kind of, I guess, what would be your sort of typical profile of the types of content that you like to put out?
So I'm on YouTube, James Ron Oliver, travel expert. A shameless plug there, but yeah, I put everything out there really. I do lots of travel content, but mainly focused on airline reviews, economy, premium, business. The occasional first when the husband allows me to steal his credit card. But yeah, that's basically what I do. So point-to-point journey reviews, from arriving to at the origin to arriving at the destination, and sort of reviewing everything as a complete package. And I've always promised myself from starting that, like I said earlier, not getting sensationalist, keeping things real, keeping things completely true to form, because I don't want to be someone that's upsetting big airlines, upsetting people. You've got to remember that filming on aircraft is as tough as it is. And there's some content creators that don't kind of abide or play by the rules and kind of create a bit of controversy. And I dare say they probably in the long run do a lot better on viewing figures than I ever will. But having done that job before as cabin crew, having flown and worked in the industry, I don't think it ever is difficult to rock up at the aircraft with a bag full of sweets for the crew or something nice and just say, look, this is what I do. I'm not going to film you. I'm not going to thrust a camera in your face. I'm going to be totally respectful. And then you get the crew sometimes that say, look, I'd happily do an interview with you or a chat down the back. I recently did a flight a couple of months ago, just before Christmas, with Helvetic Airways from London City. And Julie, one of the cabin crew members, she was so awesome and, was up for filming. And sometimes when the crew come and ask you what you're doing, you think to yourself, I'm going to get a bit of a telling off. But she was the opposite. She was like, mid-service, let me get down the back. I'll do my makeup and let's roll with a little kind of day in the life review segment. And that did really well. Passengers love to hear from crew. So sometimes I do hotel reviews, very, very rarely now, but I do a couple of hotel reviews, and then random things as well. I did a documentary on Tempelhof, the abandoned airport in Berlin. Ironically, something that I had no intention of doing, and it ended up being my best performing video to date. I think it's got something like 120 odd thousand views.
Wow.
You know,
It's a really cool building, isn't it?
It's epic. It's amazing, and we were in Berlin for 3 days. We just took a walk down to Tempelhof Field just to kind of have a stroll around. And I said, I wonder if there's any spaces left on a tour or something. So I gave them a call. No spaces left. And then the next minute, the manager came down and said, well, I can give you a kind of escort behind the German tour if you want, and I'm happy for you to film it. And it kind of went from there. So it's little things like that I like to just document and make small films on, and you can find those over on YouTube as well. So
that's really cool. I think a lot of us like to live vicariously and enjoy that kind of almost like how the other half live kind of experiences of, I know that there are some YouTubers that enjoy sort of doing the first class experiences and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm sure one of your frustrations must be the ever evolving algorithm on YouTube. And yeah, I think sometimes YouTube sort of shows me what it wants me to see, and that must be a bit of a frustration for you with getting those viewer figures up.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. I've still not cracked it. I'll be brutally honest with you. And I don't think anybody ever cracks it. I did a flight on that second flight, the Global Airlines flight from Manchester to JFK. Met Cara and Nate on there. If you're familiar with those, they're two very, very big US travel YouTubers, to the point where they're getting, they've got about 4 million subscribers, and they put a video up. And I always say to them, it must be lovely for you because you put your feet up, put the fire on, and relax. You don't have to worry about it. Because they're pretty much guaranteed, good viewership. But they said to me as well, they had no idea what they were doing. They just did it because they enjoyed it and they were passionate about it. And then from there onwards, it grew. And I think if you're doing something that you love, I'm not in this for the money, certainly not at all. I enjoy doing it. I fly a lot, so why not take people on that journey with me as well and film it from start to finish?
Yeah, it's great. I'll certainly be seeking out your channel.
Well, thank you very much. I'll take another subscriber. That's very kind of you.
James, we've got some questions from the chat room. James of All in the chat room says, what do you think about Air France? He said, I had a great experience and loved their business class product.
So I flew Air France's business class product before I started the channel, and it was good. The service is distinctly French, and I mean that in the most positive of ways. They are deeply passionate and love to recommend during service flow, show their wine knowledge, etc. And I think that's great, because that's what you expect from the French. My best friend is French, and he just talks to me about wine and cheese on a pretty much daily basis. I flew Air France's premium economy. That's on the channel. That was on the 350 back from Chicago to Paris Charles de Gaulle. Another great product. It did feel ever so slightly tight. I'm not going to lie. I was on the bulkhead row. I snagged a cheeky upgrade. I think it was 220 odd pounds at the check-in. And it was worth it. It was a red eye. I got some sleep. Just a little things with the premium service that kind of was a bit kind of lacking in detail, serving things in paper cups in premium. I'm not precious, but I think, you've got to kind of have that differentiating part of service where at least serve something in a even if it's like what Virgin do and serve you a cup of tea in upper class in a mug, it's funky, it's what you expect. And I've done Air France economy as well, and I think their economy product is pretty standard, but nothing to write home about, but nothing to complain about either. And I'm going to be doing a sort of, I say sister airline, but Air France KLM closely linked. I'm going to do their fifth freedom flight from Santiago in Chile to Buenos Aires. They send a 787 or a 777 between the two, and I'm going to be on that in about a month's time. So I shall let you know how that one is as well.
Bill in the chat room says, James, what was the most memorable flight you've taken?
That's a good one. I think that, stereotypically the Global Airlines one was up there, and I haven't been paid to say that. That's something I should clear up, because people always say to me, oh, you must be getting paid, and all these airlines throwing free flights a year. In a perfect world, that would be lovely, but I've always said I'd self-fund, and I stand by that mantra. The Global Airlines one was good because it was just unique, and I think there was a lot of buzz about it. I know that first Glasgow flight didn't get glowing reviews, but the Manchester one, they'd learnt from their kind of mistakes on the first flight, and I think that's the issue with using, not even high fly, but there was the disconnect, wasn't there? It was a high fly aircraft, high fly crew, operated just by Global in Global's name, but everything was high fly in name, nature, and service. And So that was good. It was memorable, and I got to meet some really cool people in the industry on that one. But I think my favourite journey of late is that Virgin Atlantic upper class flight I took. It was a super steal on points. I think I paid 29,000 Virgin points and about £400 in tax, which is a real steal for that route. And the clubhouse is probably still up there with one of my favourite lounges. I just kind of arrive in that lounge and feel like I'm at home. And the Virgin service is always funky, very casual, but still with that little kind of premium edge to it. And they make you feel comfortable. There's no kind of hoity-toity, stiff upper lip when you get on board with Virgin.
Darren Smith in the chat room, James, is asking a very important question indeed. Do you think that global airlines will ever return?
It's an interesting one. Look, I'm not going to sit on the fence and say, I know James quite well, and I have been resolute from the very start that he's got a lot of challenges ahead of him, more than most. This is not an easy feat, and I think if I'm honest with him and you guys, the odds are, seriously stacked against global. I think where the disconnect came for me was there was a lot of people in the UK that were really bashing him. And yeah, look, on the face of it, it is a crazy, wacky idea. And sometimes I think he's better off putting his money into a kind of woodcutter in the garden and just incinerating it, because you burn through money in this industry. But I think to myself, sometimes it would be great from a perspective, and I think this is something we struggle with as a country sometimes in England, is we are very kind of cynical about success and startup and and new launches, etc. And I think sometimes if we could just kind of get behind them and wish the very best of success, if it did pay off, it's cool to have said that you've been a kind of part of that bubble from the start. But yeah, I'm absolutely resolute in saying James has got a lot of challenges ahead of him. I wish him the absolute best. I think, we do need more competition, especially long-haul competition in the UK. But as me and Nev said before the show started, it is an increasingly competitive market, and it's very, very difficult to make money in it.
That's definitely true. Yeah, it was. There was so many mixed reviews on that global, the first initial global flight. So many different reviewers on there giving so many different reviews. But as you said, it was something brand new, straight out of the box, and yeah. We can only hope that we have some kind of long haul competition at some point soon. Right,
yeah, absolutely.
We're going to start to wrap up the show, James, but I will ask that inevitable question when it comes to airlines, because we talk about probably all these airlines on the show pretty much every week when it comes to news stories normally. But Ryanair, EasyJet, Jet2, what's your favourite and why?
Oh, you've put me on the spot there. Well, Jet2 is probably the lowest of the list because the Jess Glynn song just lives rent-free in my head and goes round and round, and I can't take it anymore. I really can't. It's worse than water torture. And I've got friends at Jet2, so I can get away by saying that. But for me, I'd probably say Ryanair is second and EasyJet at the top. I think EasyJet, I had this kind of strange relationship with. I grew up, with my grandma and granddad putting on Airline on ITV on a Friday night, and that kind of stuck with me. And there's something about that airline, I think, with what Stelios did was give access to an airline and essentially realised that was the best form of free PR that any airline could have got. And, I think at the time when I was looking into that, I think it was between £250,000 to £300,000 for a prime time slot for an advertisement slot on ITV. And there was Stelios getting 30 minutes of free advertising by letting the cameras in. And I think that will probably still go down as one of the best marketing moves in aviation for a very long time.
Yeah, that was probably one of my favourite series on TV as well, to be fair, James, with Jane Bolton, or was her name I'll always remember.
It is easy if you get here on time. There's the best phrase I think I've ever heard on telly.
Oh, did you ever watch that series, Nev, on TV?
Oh yeah, all the time, and the abuse that the check-in staff and ticket staff took from passengers who really needed to have a word with themselves, to be honest with you, was horrific. But it made for a lot of very good entertainment, I thought. Very well made series, actually.
Going to grab a few more out of the questions out of the chat room before we go. James of all is asking you, James, did you meet Gabe Lee? Is it Lee? Gabe Lee?
Gabriel Lee, Flight Radar 24. Still yet to pin Gabriel down on my travels, but he was exceptionally good from when I started my channel with a little bit of advice. So a big shout out to him. He does the Flight Radar 24 channel, and again, some really good content that he puts out. So yeah, not met him. I wasn't on that one. Gabe was on the Glasgow flight, which was the very first inaugural Global Airlines flight, and I was on the second one. So I had Daniel Ross from Upgraded Points, and Cara and Nate, and James Asquith on mine, and got seriously drunk, which is a big regret of mine.
Oh, awesome. Richard Adams is asking a question you might or you may not be able to answer, but it's up to you. Richard is asking, what airline did you work for as crew?
Yeah, I can answer that. It's on my LinkedIn, so it's no state secret. So I joined when I was 18. In fact, I started my course when I was 17 years old and 11 months and something, whatever the CAA rule was then, when you could start, as long as you turned 18 when you got your EASA qualification, with Thomson Airways, which was the ex-Britannia, and now TUI as we know it. And then when I realised that going to Alicante and back 4 times a week was a little bit more than I bargained for after 2 seasons, I wanted a bit more stability and went to British Airways and did mixed fleet, short and long haul there.
Did you hear that, Nev?
I did, yes. Yeah. Impressive.
Who knows? I may have even served Nev on a flight. Who knows?
Well, it's possible, isn't it? Yeah, absolutely.
If it was seat 1A, James, it would have been Nev sitting there for sure.
Oh, I'd have looked after Nev for sure.
Yeah.
Also, James of all is asking in the chat room, do you watch any other flight review channels, or are you too deep in competition?
Oh, great question. No, I watch them all. I watch Cahill, I watch Noel Phillips, I watch Gabriel Lee, I watch Paul Lucas, I watch them all. There's some really good people out there. Everyone's got a different style, obviously. I mean, Noel was, before he moved to Texas, was just 20 minutes up the road from me in Mansfield. I'm sort of central Nottingham, and he was just up the road from me. Obviously now moved to Texas. Look, everyone's got their people that they watch and gravitate naturally to sometimes, and people, I don't like watching Noel, or I love watching Josh Cahill, and vice versa. Ultimately, everybody's got their own style. I watch them because, I think they all offer something different. Josh loves a good moan and is very objective and known for his kind of, eye-catching headlines, and I'll say that, and I'm sure he won't mind. Noel as well got that comedy factor, and I think Noel's just really interesting to watch because just as a personality, he's just funny. You tune in and you laugh. And then Paul Lucas, I met Paul in London City in a airport hotel lift, and when I first started, and I was like, I want to do what you do. And he was like, go for it. There's nothing stopping you. Pick up a phone, pick up a microphone, and go and do it. And again, he was super supportive, and he puts out great content. So no, we're not deep in competition. I'd like a few more thousand followers like Paul and Josh, but I watch them all the same.
Oh, brilliant. And you're doing a good job, James. So well done for that. But thank you very much. And thanks for joining us on the show tonight, James. We're going to start to wrap up now. But Nev, for the benefit of our lovely listeners, in case they didn't know, where can they find out more about us online?
Yeah, on the social medias, Facebook, X, Instagram or LinkedIn. Just search those platforms for Plane Talking UK. You can email the show, podcast@planetalkinguk.com, and that's the email you need to use if you would like to still come to the 600th show, if you haven't already let us know. The WhatsApp number, +44 7446 975 214 for your aviation pictures and general stories. Many people have subscribed to our YouTube channel as well. You'll get notifications when we go live. Please press the like and subscribe buttons, and then you can help shape the conversation of the show by joining us in the chat room as well. Just go to youtube.com and search for Plane Talking UK. As you know, it costs us some money to run the whole show. And if you feel that you can help us do so, please have a look at the Patreon and PayPal donation pages on our website, planetalkinguk.com.
There we go. And James, for the benefit of the listeners, again, where can they find you on YouTube?
I picked one of the most longest names ever. It's times like this I wish I was John Smith. I'm James Warren Oliver, travel expert. That is a mouthful. Over on YouTube. And if you're into flying and planes and all sorts of stuff, and watching me, get gradually more drunk on some of these flights as time goes on, then definitely give it a watch.
There we go. Thank you very much, James, for coming on. Appreciate it. Hope it hasn't been too much of a stress, what with all the technical gremlins that we've had. But it's been lovely to have you on and lovely to chat with you as well. And I'm sure Nev has enjoyed having someone who's had the similar experiences as he's had over the years in lounges and on airlines as well. So thank you.
No, thank you. A big thanks to you all. Keep up the great work as well. I absolutely love what you do. You know, I tune in, week out. And, you know, likewise, thank you for your kind words. Keep up the excellent work yourself, guys.
Right, so we're going to do a quick round robin before we finish. What are you up to next week, Nev?
Oh, nothing too major. Just carrying on with the swimming and the weight loss. A bit of a boring week ahead. But, yeah, I did the Duxford run today, so getting all some admin to do with that. Risk assessment and method statement. I haven't had to do one of those for nearly 2 years, so I've got to write one for our event as well. But yeah, so exciting stuff like that.
AI is your friend, or should I say chat GBT or whatever the kids call it. Nick, what about you?
Well, James has got me a bit worried now because I'm going to be getting on a Jet 2 flight to go to the Canary Islands. So, yeah, wish me luck.
Oh, it's safe. Your ears will bleed with the music. That's all.
Yeah, I've already got that.
No two-wheeled adventures for you this weekend, then, Nick?
No, I don't know. It kind of feels like the weather's been teasing us a bit with a bit of sunshine, but it's still actually blooming cold.
Oh. Well, hopefully, Nick. It's supposed to be very hot tomorrow. It's supposed to be hitting 17 degrees Celsius apparently tomorrow. It may be a lie, but that's what I heard today.
I'm too busy. I'm having to work for a living these days.
Oh, God, yes, you have to work now. Oh, no. Oh, good. And James, what are you up to? Have anything exciting planned for the weekend?
My passport is firmly locked away. Maybe a short city break, to be fair. I've got to keep the husband happy. I've been flying lots of premium cabins recently by myself, so I'm in the bad books. So it might be a cheeky little weekend getaway, and then planning for this big trip up to South America at the end of the month. So I've got lots of prep to do for that.
Wow, we look forward to the videos. Yeah, look forward to those. Right, that is it. Well, this weekend, what am I doing? I'm on the radio Saturday as usual. And Sunday, I'm going to be probably doing the ironing because that's the rock star lifestyle that I lead here. Yeah. Anyway, that's it for this week's show. Big thanks again to James for joining us this week. Thanks to Nick for all your work on the show notes this week. Thanks to Nev as well for all his hard work, as always, on the 600th show. And don't forget, if you still want to attend the 600th, we still have some places left. So if you do want to come, make sure you check out our website, allthews.planetalkinguk.com. And all the info is on there for the 600th show. So Nev, I'll hand it over to you to wrap up this week's show.
Yes, thanks to everybody for joining us today. Really enjoyed it. Sorry about all the technical issues. Some of them were outside of our control as well. But anyway, we got up and running in the end. Thanks to you, James, for joining us. Really appreciate your time and hope you have a nice weekend. In the meantime, we'll be back on Wednesday next week, 7 o'clock UK time. In the meantime, bye for now.
And microphones coming up.